KC9VKV. This is Kilo 8 Echo Papa Sierra. Name is Eric. We spoke last week, and I waited to make sure you didn't have a bunch of folks needing to have their microphones equalized. So I had a question for you, Jim. You offered one time to give me a little tutorial on changing from a dynamic microphone to an Electret or a condenser microphone, and it sounded like that would not interrupt your normal course of action. So if you've got time, a couple of minutes, I had a few questions about Electret microphones. This is Kilo 8 Echo Papa Sierra, Ohio. Eric.
Roger, Eric. Well, gosh, simplicity would be that one might get a preamp that furnished a DC voltage phantom supply for your condenser mic. That would be the easiest way to make the conversion. So you just plug your Electret into this mic preamp that's furnishing a DC, phantom DC to it, and it comes out a mic level and goes back into your radio, Roger.
A mic level and goes back into your radio, Roger.
Roger, Jim.
Yours a few months ago.
After I heard another broadcast of yours a few months ago where you were discussing that kind of a conversion, and I checked, and my Kenwood TS890 manual, the operator's manual, indicates that there is an 8-volt pin on the microphone connector. I do have an external EQ box, and it has a 48-volt phantom power supply in it. So I was figuring I would chat with you and figure out is the 8 volts out of the Kenwood sufficient to go to the Kenwood, or do I need 48 volts for my external EQ? And does that mean there's a difference in the Electret microphones that I need to be aware of?
Well, the 48 volt is the professional voltage supplied to most pro condenser microphones. So if you get a real condenser microphone, all you got to do is just plug it into that preamp, and away you go, Roger.
Through that preamp, and away you go, Roger.
Roger. If I wanted to use the Kenwood EQ, would I need to do something that would boost just that 8 volts up to 48 volts for the average condenser mic?
No, I would, you could probably still use that 8 volts. So that's a minimum, and it all depends on the load of the microphone. So an Electret microphone, 8 volts is plenty of volts to make it happen there. So you probably could take advantage of the 8 volt output on your mic jack, and consult your owner's manual for exactly how to wire up an Electret mic and take advantage of that 8 volts, Ryder.
Mic and take advantage of that 8 volts, Ryder.
Roger, that would be the most convenient. I use the external preamp equalizer box for my headset, and I use the microphone jack on the radio for my Heil microphone for the desk. But I would have liked to be able
and use its 18-band equalizer. And then you've answered that question for me. The next one I have is I'm running a Heil PR40 for the desk and a Sennheiser headset, and they all sound good. Is there a particular, let's say, a desk mic for Electret microphone that I should be looking at? What are some good ones that I could look at?
Gosh, just about anywhere, that sell ham equipment. I might add that where you are right now, I don't know what mic you're using right now, but it really sounds just beautiful. It's got very broad, numbers across the scale there. I don't know, why you would necessarily want to change mics. I like the sound of that mic, Roger.
I appreciate that, Jim. I just was thinking that the condenser mic, I've never had one, never tried one, and I'm an engineer, so I kind of like to play around and see how things work. But this is a Heil PR40, and we've got the EQ set up the way you recommended. Did this, as they say, by ear, and it served me well. But I didn't know if maybe a condenser microphone could give me a different set of characteristics that might be good. I'm certainly happy with what I have, but being an inveterate electronics tinkerer, I just was curious about the possibility of a condenser mic. This is Qso-Vlog.
And this is KC9VKV, the Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog net. And Eric, I'll tell you, that microphone does just sound very, very nice. But I'm with you. I'm always experimenting with things. Not so much, lately, but in my earlier years. And I did find all of a sudden this $2 Electret microphone was just producing upper frequencies in the silver range that I had been EQing, having to EQ on dynamic mics. This mic just flat, so to speak, just outperformed any dynamic microphone that I was cranking in a lot of top-end EQ. So I do know that, for $2 or, maybe $3, you want a, depending, I guess you would go with, I always found a 2.2 k-ohm resistor across the output made that mic operate the best. I'm not real sure why, but I always loaded mine with a 2.2K resistor going into the input of the radio. Just mic condenser mic into the input of the radio, not really involving the preamp at all, but
Well, then that begs the question. Do you have to add for a $2 or $3 condenser element? Do you have to add your inline capacitor for DC blocking, or is that something that's built into the element?
Oh, that's the only way you can, you have to go without that blocking capacitor, because that's the only way that 8 volts coming out is the only way that that DC can get to the Electret microphone, which the Electret microphone has to have. So you would not use a blocking capacitor on an Electret microphone or condenser microphone that you were going in with. But like I say, I found a 2.2 ohm load resistor, kind of made it work as best as I could. I ran through with a variable resistor and found 2.2 K to make that mic operate just glorious. Now, there are some modifications that you can do to the Electret microphone that make it even outperform itself even better. And that is, I call this my CRISPR mic modification. And it's, I don't know if you're familiar with like phono plugs. They've got a little rubber thing that fits over the jack, and I take a razor blade and I cut off tapering part of that. So I just have a cylinder kind of thing, and this cylinder is just big enough to fit over the Electret diaphragm and stick out about 1/4 of an inch in front of the Electret diaphragm, and that gives you a rising treble characteristic of like maybe 6 or 7 dB above flat at 6 kc. So it's just a nice little crisper that you can add to an Electret microphone to make it sound even better. Roger?
An Electret microphone to make it sound even better. Roger?
Roger. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. That's an interesting concept. I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, that would make sense. And you get your treble boost that way and kind of make like a DX microphone, more or less.
Well, you know, you have a your ALC, which is actually the limiter for the radio, that will take care of a lot of that top end stuff. Actually, it compresses it, so you just get fuller syllabic content in your voice. The Electret microphone is already reproducing a very great amount of high-frequency information, which the dynamic couldn't do, and then that crisper just adds just a little bit more, and you know, that's what I'm running right now.
You know, that's what I'm running right now.
Makes sense. A lot of times it's the little things that count.
Very well. Like I said, Jim,
Happy with my desk mic setup here and the EQ that we did, and I'm frankly only looking at condenser just for experimentation purposes. But I assume because you're running ICOM 7300 that you're using some kind of a condenser microphone on your end.
Oh yeah, I'm running an ART preamp into the 7300, and then this Electret mic right into the input of the ART preamp. And I think ART preamps are like $60 or so, and it gives you some control over the audio signal, like it has an output control and an input control to adjust how much compression, if any, that you want to use or don't. But it also does a nice interface to the Electret microphone. Roger?
Face to the Electret microphone. Roger?
Roger. Yeah, I've seen that microphone you use on your YouTube channel, and I didn't recognize it. It's kind of got the old Shure look to it, but it doesn't look exactly like a Shure mic, so I wasn't really sure of what kind of microphone you were running there in your shack.
Roger. Well, this is just like an inch round thin-walled piece of steel. It is about probably 8 inches long, for whatever reason, I don't know, but what I had. And the audio comes in the back, and the microphone's up in the front. And I do use a lot of duct tape, to wrap the microphone in the enclosure in the front. I use it to make it fit, because it doesn't, the microphone holder is bigger in the front than the element. So I just fill it out a little bit so it stays where it's supposed to be. And I also once I put that little piece of the phono piece for crisper, I usually put a little piece of tape around to join the crisper to the microphone, just wrap it around one turn, just to keep those two things right there, and you still have like about a half an inch or a quarter of an inch between there, about a quarter of an inch of that crisper hanging out in front of the Electret microphone, and that's what causes the passive high-frequency rising characteristic.
Passive high-frequency rising characteristic.
Yes, very inventive. We do what we must. I liked your comment about a duct tape guy. That I've had my share of that over the years. Started out similar to you, building some of my own equipment in my teenage years and having my own AM radio station, and learning it the hard way, converting old televisions into transmitters. Those horizontal sweep tubes made a really powerful output system, and so I was used to having to modify and kind of kludge everything just to make it work in those days, so I'm not afraid to do it now. So I fully understand that. Kilo 8 Echo Papa Sierra for ID.
Roger, KC9VKV, the Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog night. Yeah, I would, Gorilla tape is my preference. It comes in black and white depending on what your job is, and I do a lot of, if I like a box and the size of it, I'll take either black or white Gorilla tape, and I'll tape the whole box. And here I have, here's a whole roll of Gorilla tape that's like $8 or $9, and I've taken a cardboard box and made it into the ideal box, and at first it sounds expensive, but here's $8 for this box. It's just absolutely perfect, and would probably cost me $30 to buy it if I would happen to see one that size, Roger. So you just you get inclined to be using that Gorilla tape to solve just amazing amount of problems. My whole I might say I do use it extensively, and I've got a table here that I've got it covered right where I am, and it's been hanging out pretty good there for 10 years, Roger.
And it's been hanging out pretty good there for 10 years, Roger.
Yeah, don't change it if it works. That's great. Well, Jim, I won't tie you up. I noticed that the band was really low today, and you were getting out in here reasonably well.
Good day, you're going to be up at 9, but the band was really quiet. There wasn't much of anything going on 40 meters that I could see. And when nobody was coming back to you, I thought this is a great opportunity for me to jump in and get some mentoring time from you. And it's really been a pleasure to talk to you under these circumstances. So I'll back off of here. By now there may be somebody tuning across that wants to get their radio set up, and you're the man for the job. So once again, Jim, thanks for all of your advice and your help, and I'll be listening to you every Friday that I can. So you take care. 73, this is Kilo 8 Echo Papa Sierra, clear.
Roger there, Eric, and I think you should be able to take advantage of that 8 volts that's stubbed out there, or come out with a lead, or however it is. You might just try taking the Electret microphone has 2 wires. One is ground and one is the high side, and you want the part of the Electret microphone that's grounded, you want that ground to go to your radio ground or your audio ground, and then that leaves you one high side that can go right to that pin in question to give you the voltage. Or if that doesn't work, the voltage is there to use to get into that Electret microphone itself there. You wouldn't need a separate power supply. So you might, just play around with it. But I'm saying there's 2 wires coming out of that Electret microphone, and one of those goes to ground, so that reduces your difficulty because you only have 1 wire left, and you might just try placing it on that 8 volts directly, or you might have to work out a compromise there of some way, but you will have the voltage to make that mic work right there on your mic input. Roger?
That mic work right there on your mic input. Roger?
Roger, understood. Yeah, it may be a fun thing to experiment with. Like I said, I'm always fiddling with something around the electrical usually. So I think I'll give that a try. I'll find a cheapo microphone and start doing some experimentation.
Roger. Now, I would suggest that the enclosure that you put your Electret microphone in be metallic, because it offers a much better shield than a plastic microphone cover. So make your condenser microphone holder as such out of metal, or use one that's metal. And there was something else I was going to mention there. And if it does work and you do start using it, you must, or it's a really good idea to start using a foam windscreen out in front of that Electret microphone, because they're very, very sensitive to plosives and cause a lot of distortion if you work a Electret condenser microphone directly in without a foam windscreen. So I've got the foam windscreen. I run very close mic. So I'm right up in that Electret microphone, but I couldn't be that way if I wasn't using a foam windscreen. Roger?
If I wasn't using a foam windscreen. Roger?
Yeah, you're right. I know that the condenser mics are supposed to be really sensitive, and I run a foam cover on this Heil PR40. And it gives me a pretty clean sound. I work it close too, and nobody's ever complained about breath sounds or mouth noises. But I can understand the sensitivity of a condenser mic is so much higher than this dynamic that if I didn't have some kind of a foam cover on it, it probably would be a plosive monitor.
Oh, yes, sir, and just other mouth noises that would add QRM. You would be QRMing yourself if you weren't using a foam windscreen, because they really are very important. I wouldn't leave home without one, Roger.
I wouldn't leave home without one, Roger.
Yeah, as we sit in our shacks and we wouldn't leave home without one. I get it. That's pretty good. And I do understand the need then for the shielding it with a metal housing of some kind. So that all makes sense. So you're helping me get my little fiddling experiment kind of laid out. And I appreciate that tip about the 2.2K mic resistor across the input, helping you get the sound you need, your crisper. That was a good tip. I've made notes here, so I should be in good shape when I want to try this stuff.
Roger that. And there's another test that I use just to see what the situation is there. I've got a bunch of stuff tied to this input that the normal station would not have, so, and the more stuff you have tied to your mic input, the more probabilities you're going to experience in RF and the AF. You just, when you start tacking stuff onto your input, particularly if you're running power, you're going to have a much larger incidence of RF and the AF. And my rule of thumb to find out how well I'm doing is I try to have myself a 10 dB over normal situation. In other words, if I'm coming in at 55, then I'll go down to 10 dB above that as far as my mic level input control. Let's see, to explain this. I increase the gain 10 dB above normal operating conditions just to see how close I am to getting RF in the AF. In other words, the more gain I give, the more probability I'm going to run into some problems. So if I can run plus 10 over my normal level and nothing takes off like a big bird, then I'm relatively confident that I'm well below RF in the AF problems, Roger.
Well below RF in the AF problems, Roger.
That makes sense. Yep. You turn up that sensitivity, you're probably going to find it if it's there. So I just noticed on the S meter that there was a couple of drops in your last transmission where you went down just below S3, and I happen to have about an S2 noise level, and then you shot right back up to an S8. So that's a very volatile band we're working with today.
Yes, sir. Well, people don't really realize, I don't think, how volatile it really is, because they're listening to a one-source signal, and it comes and goes a little bit. But I'm listening on 5 SDRs across the country, and I can just run through those and tell what's going on in just 4 seconds, 3 seconds. I can just, they are on rotary, and I can just rotary select these 5 SDRs across the country, and I can tell whether the signal is up or not. And then sometimes when it goes bad on one, I can jump to another one, and it'll be there. So there's usually constantly some kind of propagational phasing going on, sometimes more noticeable than other times. Roger?
And sometimes more noticeable than other times. Roger?
That's true. The last 2 or 3 days have been really interesting. I've noticed that the band would just completely go away, and then an hour later it comes back in, and then the solar wind hits, and there's lots of noise. So it's just been up and down a bunch lately. I guess I was expecting more out of the solar maximum than I've seen so far. But yeah, like last week, you had me on your Cincinnati or your Kentucky SDR, and you said that the PA SDR was down. And I noticed today it looks to be PA SDR, so it must be back up. And in fact, that may be where you're hearing me, because that always seemed to do well.
Roger, actually I was using my Georgia SDR. I don't know really what the deal is, but again, my PA SDR is my normal one is not available, and it's getting to be that way more often. I don't know exactly what the deal is there, but it is the last 2 or 3 times it's not been available. So they may be shut down, which is going to be a catastrophe. But SDRs are really nice. It's a way of getting there even when it's not working on your local antenna. So we can try to get close enough to the copy, the mail, and function as far as, and they're all receivers. That's just, we're always transmitting on our tuned dipole antenna, always transmitting on the tuned dipole antenna, but we're receiving, like I say, in a multitude of different ways. We have our local receiver, and then we have 5 SDR receivers around the country on the eastern part of the United States.
Eastern part of the United States.
Are you, I'm trying to think of how you would be more or less multiplexing your loop antennas. You said in your preamble that you had loop antennas, and I'm just trying to think of how, from an engineering standpoint, how you would
receiver.
Okay, I have external input control that I can use my my normal through or select other antennas. This is an addition that we used on our 990, which was nice too. And then we got this 7300 and had to work out a thing where we could use more than one antenna for receive on that 7300. And again, it's a matter of max smoke. If you're not really listening or looking at a signal, you're listening to it. You're listening to the white noise, and the more white noise you have, obviously, the weaker the signal. Roger.
And the more white noise you have, obviously, the weaker the signal. Roger.
Roger. Yeah, that's. Man, it's been a pleasure getting a chance just to, in a relaxed fashion, talk electronics and radio with you. Like I said, I will be back on next Friday listening, and I learn a lot. So I'm going to jump off of here, and you may have somebody who's receiving you now because your signal's up around S9. So you may be getting out there now to the extent where some of the more distant stations can hear you. 73 Jim, glad you're there. You're always there, so I really appreciate that. And this is Kilo 8 Echo Papa Sierra, off and clear.
Roger, Roger, Eric 73, sir, and you have a great afternoon, beautiful weekend. And if you want to hear your audio, if you go to YouTube and do that call letter search, KC9VKV, followed by the word logbook, bring up this recording, and this is cut number 1 in the series of actually 3,300, I think, and we'll have it uploaded by noon tomorrow. So 73. This is the Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog net. If you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.